So our next session is going to be a fireside chat. So we have three speakers here, Sikil Gurucharan sir, Dr. Anita Ratnam, and PC Ramakrishna. And that is going to be moderated by Dr. Pradeep Chakravarthy. And since we are running short of time, so we're just cutting down on bios. They don't want to talk about their bios, so they want to enter directly into the session. So over to you, sir.
When we put the name together, we were wondering how many of us in Chennai have actually seen a fireside because we have our summers to take care. But whether we've seen a fireside in Chennai or not, all of us love our season. Whether it's for the Sabha canteen and the food or for the music and the dance, we love our seasons. For those of you who haven't come to Chennai, the peak season is actually from next week onwards, so it's a wonderful time.
From today.
Actually, from today, okay. So roughly from today till about mid-Jan. So we're really happy to kickstart this off. 1,000 years ago, when Chennai was still small villages in the Chola times, the community in the village paid for the music, dance, and arts performers. Because the main job of the artist at that time, and in those days, of course, it wasn't music, dance, and drama de-linked from each other in a way as it is now. They were all combined together. The main job of the performers was to keep the conscience of the village by performing many stories from our Puranas and our Itihasas, which all went back to look at how we can lead a life where we contribute to each other's well-being, and how the essence of Dharma being that we put the we over me. Things changed over a period of time, but the core of the season as we know it today really started from about the 1920s, 1928 to be exact, when the academy started its sessions. And then from then on, it's become what it is today, which I think is probably the world's largest non-governmental performance of multiple performances across venues with different flavors across the city. So my questions as a moderator, my job is more to stimulate discussion, also to summarize. My timing is about half an hour to get our experts to speak today, and maybe another half an hour for the questions. There will be some rules about the questions, but later on that. So I'd love to start this with PC. What do you think the season is really all about?
Well, I travel all three fields, Iyal, Isai, and Nadagam. Basically a musician, albeit a percussionist. I'm involved with theatre intrinsically, and also with dance as part of the Natyarangam, which is the dance wing of Nadagam Sabha. So I will speak about all three. As far as music is concerned first, the season to me means listening all through morning and afternoon to all emerging young singers to find out what is the future of our Carnatic music. And I share this information that I have, my impressions of young singers, with a lot of people I know who go to kacheris. And I know that singers who have impressed me over the last couple of decades, many of them have made good. And I, in a small way, have contributed to making their music known to some friends of them. As far as dance is concerned, again, I'm sure Anita will have much more to say about this. Natyarangam, which is the dance wing of Nardagana Sabha, promotes 2 young dancers every month and pays them. And this is the rub. Many dancers don't get paid. We pay them, and we've been doing this for 20 years. So over a period of a year, 15 to 20 dancers are presented, and hopefully many of them make good. People come and see them, so they enhance performance and they are seen. As far as drama is concerned, very briefly, we have, at least I have, over the last, again 20 years, 25 years, moved away from Shaw and Oscar Wilde and Neil Simon and Pinter and Shakespeare perhaps even, to presenting Indian themes on the English stage, because there is an audience which does not understand regional literature, regional languages. So as far as I'm concerned, from 2005 onwards to now, my concentration has been on presenting Indian writing on either in original, in translation or original Indian writing or adaptation to the English stage. And I can say that my audience has grown exponentially because of that, because of the identification they have with this milieu that we have created. And it also gives me more satisfaction about doing something that is very close to our heart and celebrating Indian literature. So this is what I want to say about the three areas in which I operate.
Thank you, PC. And how would you answer that question, Anita?
As
What does the season mean for you?
Well, as the world's largest continual privately funded performing arts festival, I think that more and more we are navel gazing. We're getting very smug and we feel this is this amazing festival that's happening, but there is a big shift in audience demographic, especially between now, because yesterday is when all the sabhas officially started. It'll go on, I think, till the end of January. So somebody did some kind of a rough analysis, and they said about 4,000 performances are going to happen in about 45 days in various venues. When PC talks about music from morning to night, it used to be that dance was only in the evenings, but now dance is also from morning to night.
Yes.
And it is because I think there's so many performers, there's such an explosion of young energy, and we have to acknowledge the enormous influence and presence of the diaspora. The diaspora has taken dance and music, of course, as a way to enter through their parents some kind of Indianness. Maybe when they are 6 or 7 or 8 years old, it could be an India 101 culture course. And it could be as simple and basic as, let me tell you who is the bad snake, Kalinga, and who's the good snake, Adisesha. But it is through this, the dance, that many of the diaspora children, now of course it's been many generations since, but faithfully every Vijayadashmi all over the world, parents are bringing their children into dance class or to music class. What I see is about 75% in this season is from people outside Chennai and outside India. They are the people driving the audience. They are the people buying the season tickets, which are surprisingly exorbitantly expensive during this month. Even if it's 25,000 rupees for a season ticket, it gets sold in half an hour. And the people buying it are the people who don't live here. But what I want to say is that with dance, it could be morning to night, it could be hundreds and hundreds of performances. The gatekeepers are the sabhas or the auditorium people who also have the sabhas and the spaces. We don't have trained curators. People have learned by the fly. People have learned and selected on personal likes and dislikes. Art is, of course, very subjective. Sometimes they look at YouTube videos. Sometimes they look at little clips, maybe Instagram now. They look at Instagram followers because we cannot dismiss this parallel platform of social media. So the curation for me in dance is very uneven. It is not always the best of the best. It is not an investment in, this person really has promised, so we are going to program them for the next 3 years to see how they grow. The investment is not so much in the artistic practice as much as to just fill the calendar, more or less. And this city has stopped being a city where you just wake up in the morning and say, today I feel like listening to music or I feel like going to dance. We choose the person we want to listen to or the dancer we want to see. So we are more geared now more and more towards name, brand, and celebrity in a very kind of, in a way that we don't want to acknowledge it, but that's the choices we're making. It's also, if we talk about a festival, Pradeep, it's only geographically in a certain part of the city. Chennai has grown so much beyond Gemini Circle. There is a young Chennai in North Chennai. We have just completely ignored it. And it's no use saying, they won't understand. No, if it is a people's festival, then I think whoever are the makers and the movers and the shakers must acknowledge that it's not only Alvarpet, Tenampet, Mylapore, Adayar, but it has to be a festival really beyond. I want to end by saying that this world's largest continually running privately funded festival is not celebrated by the state in any way. So we don't have anything in the airports to say, welcome. in December. We don't have anything in the hotels. We don't have anything in the guest rooms of the hotels. We don't have anything in restaurants. A tent card to say, this is the app, this is what's happening today. So we still end up sort of preaching to the choir, I feel. Charan will have his whole huge following because he's a global star. He will have his halls full. And I don't think he has time in terms of saying audience development. How do you get new audiences? How do you do audience outreach? We haven't done enough work on that. You know, I'm a performing artist, but I'm also an organizer. And I keep looking at the fact that, look, here is this amazing intellectual crowd. And I don't know how many of you come to watch a dance performance. How many go to listen to music? Hands up. Okay. How many of you go to watch dance? Very nice. No, you don't put your hand up, okay? You don't. Okay. Charan and I worked in 2006 on one. Yes. But he's one of the few musicians who actually goes to dance. And very few dancers, we don't have crossover audiences.
But Charan, I'd love to listen to your
Yes.
point of view on
So
this as
musicians
well.
rarely go to watch dance, and dancers don't go to listen to musicians. So that itself is that's a problem right there. But we will have a lot more to discuss. Over to Charan.
Thank you. For me, I think the season is just about the time where I explore within myself, within my areas of strengths and weaknesses, because as Anita rightly said, I tend to look at my concert, the amount of appreciation I'm getting from outside and from myself, actually. Because every season I try to keep up with the level of contentment that I attain in the concerts, and sometimes it's, I have to try very hard to please myself in the way I sing and I perform. But then it's also a test of your resolve, a test of your physical and mental strength, because of so many concerts happening within a span of 20 days. And how to
Sorry, roughly for an important musician, how many concerts will they do in a space of 20 days?
It's changing right now, Pradeep, because earlier quantity used to matter, but now I think the musicians on top of the game, they pick and choose. In those 20 days, they make sure that they sing in all the, as Anita said, the right sabhas, the sabhas that have been there for a long time. And they know that they sell out in those auditoriums, and the people are also happy listening to them in those 7 or 8 places. But then, as a young performing musician, you probably will end up singing 25, 26 concerts in those 30 days, and it really... Yeah, on 30 days.
And if you're an accompanist, even more.
Accompanist, they play...
If you're a violinist or a mridangam player, it's even more.
2 shifts, 2 or 3 shifts. And I just got a call from my accompanist saying that for my concert, they're going to be 5 minutes late. And can I end the concert 5 minutes before, because they have another concert to go to? Because that's the busiest part of their lives. Yeah. So it's all about quantity for many musicians. And for me, again, coming back, I think it's a time where I try to study my own music and the audience's appreciation for my music. Because I think there is a famous joke where an avid Rasika went up to a famous musician and said, "Sir, I've been listening to you for the last 3 seasons, and this time your Thodi was the best." And this musician said that I've been singing Thodi the same. Your tastes have improved. So I would like to discover that sweet middle spot, where I sing to my satisfaction, and the audience also, they are able to travel with me in my music within that testing time of 20 days, where we have to satisfy our craving as a musician and satisfy the audience's craving as Rasikas.
So, Charan, again to you, and then I'll go on to the others as well. In the last 5 years, if you've seen a change, what would be a change that you see, especially after COVID and just before COVID and after COVID? What is a change that you've seen that you're happy about? And what's a change that you've seen that you're not happy about?
I'm really happy about the fact that a lot more youngsters come to the concert. They may or may not know anything about Carnatic music. They probably will be thinking right now in 2024 that what I'm singing is just a recreation of an Instagram reel. They probably wouldn't know the bigger picture that this is actually a 10-minute kriti. So they are looking for that 1 minute of fame that they are used to on Instagram reels or YouTube shorts. But as long as they are coming to a live concert because of those social media influx, I'm very happy about it. 5 years earlier, maybe even 10 years earlier, I would not imagine myself doing the kind of programs that I'm doing in this season. Because I am part of a Western collaborative concert with Anil Srinivasan. I'm part of Mridangam and a dance recital on the same stage in Nadagam Sabha. I'm part of an English play celebrating Thiruvarur and Carnatic music directed by PC sir here. So 10 years ago, if somebody had told me that this is what you're going to be doing in a Margari season, I wouldn't have accepted, number one, and I wouldn't have believed that this would be possible. So there is a shift happening very slowly, very steadily, from core Carnatic concerts to things that will appeal to a larger section of the audience, and I'm very happy about that.
Good. Okay. Do you want to take that question again?
Well, I think for one point, I think it is the season where in dance, in Bharatanatyam, because it's a Bharatanatyam-soaked season, we rarely get to see many other styles of dance, and we also don't have a very good audience for other styles of dance. That is something about this city. I think you could do a 40-minute Varnam. You can dance a 40-minute Varnam in the season. And maybe Charan can do a full exploration of a ragam in the season, because you will have the rasikas who will sit and watch. The problem is that a dancer is never alone. He or she is part of a multiple build evening. It could be two dancers, a person can be following somebody, or you could be the last, you could be the first. And time spans have shrunk to 1 hour, 15 minutes. So when I would dance for 2.5 hours, that has come down to 75 minutes, and then you boil it down to introductions and everything, you have basically 58 to 60 minutes of performance. Now, how do you
Which is much less than for a musician, right?
Much, much less.
Yeah.
Much less. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to put a 40-minute Varnam if you have 60 minutes. And yes, as Charan says, things are changing. You have people trying to navigate new themes within the traditional vocabulary. But I've always found that Chennai was always open to new ideas. And this is a city that if you persist in your new idea, if there's some validity in it, it will take seed. And that's a seed in this city that will grow, which is why so many radical thinkers have moved to this part of the country. You had Veena Pani Chawla, who founded Adi Shakti. You had Chandralekha, who founded her theatre. It takes time, but if it really seeps in, it stays. In terms of experimentation and creativity, the reason you don't see more of it in dance is because the auditoriums don't acknowledge that you need time for technical setup. You can't just have a lights on and lights off situation if you want to do something off, like little hatke, off out of the box, because you need time. And lighting today, as we know it, in the performing arts has become such a crucial co-performer. And it's not possible to give you 15 minutes to say that's all you have. So there isn't a concept yet in the season, no matter how creative people are trying to push. Charan is working across genres, which is excellent, but he's still one of the very, very few, handful. And so that's why I think there is less opportunities for young people to really do something in the season that's contemporary and modern, with both the organizer, the presenter, and the technical support. So you will end up seeing basically traditional compositions, tweaked a bit here and there, but I don't think of it as completely original.
Okay.
I don't think of it as really thinking truly from a blank page.
Right. So that's one thing that you see is a change for the better, that from the past till now there's been a lot more experimentation. Would you say that?
Not always for the better.
Okay.
Sometimes just sort of casting something old in new clothes. But I do see one thing, Pradeep, just like you as a historian are beginning to reach across disciplines, I see a lot of people who are in religious discourses getting aligned with dancers.
Okay.
So they are actually introducing or becoming the interlocutors or the sutradhar of dance performances.
So I think you're going back to the point of saying that it's good to see a lot of cross-cultural pollination and collaboration that's happening today than it happened maybe 10 years ago?
Definitely.
Yeah?
I mean,
Okay.
when I presented the other festival between 1999 and 2008, it was very new for the city, but we had it at Museum Theatre, which was almost like in another geographical part of the city. And we got an amazing response at that time before social media
True.
sort of really blew up. So I feel there's a lot more space for experimentation. But what I like, and I think the three of us will agree, and you, these informal small spaces have opened up. people's gardens and stores and attics and lofts and terraces. And, finally, in the West, if you don't have what you call a formal theatre, if you don't perform at, say, a Sadler's Wells or a Joyce Theatre, the serious critic from the New York Times or the Boston Globe won't come to cover your work. Fortunately, in India, if something is interesting, the writer will go. He can go to the terrace, it can go to a garden. And if that work gets reviewed, then for the artist, it's really good.
True.
Because that sort of completes the cycle for the artist experience.
Right. True. So, PC, how would you take this question?
See, I would,
One thing
I
that
would
you've seen that's
talking of dance, the season today has been split into two. We have the music season, followed by the dance season. Academy, for instance, in January, has a dance season extending for about 7 days. Each day there are 4 dancers featured.
No, now it's 6. It starts
6
at 10.
dancers featured from morning to evening.
Yeah, 10.
And in fact, the first 4 dancers, junior, sub-junior, sub-senior category, the audience doesn't have to pay, they come free. So the hall is filled. It's very good for the dancers. Similarly, other sabhas like Nadagam Sabha have a dance season. So it's not that the dancer has to compete with the musician for a place in the season anymore. There is enough time and opportunity given for the dancer to have a season of his or her own. And they have benefited from it. The point from there that I would like to make is the audience is always right. The person who's a good performer draws a good audience. Never underestimate your audience. I go to, as I said, from morning to evening, I go to music performances. Some are very thinly populated. Some you can't get a seat. Invariably, you'll find that those are the performers who are very, very good and who make it to the next level. The audience, trust your audience. Do not never say, oh, they don't know anything. You are there performing only because there's an audience listening to you. And if you do not please that audience, you're not perhaps good enough. Therefore, today, when I go to various places, music, dance, or drama, if there is a good crowd, I know this crowd, by word of mouth or otherwise, have come to know that this performer is good and wants to encourage him or her.
so.
Now, that is what is happening.
Right.
That is what is happening in music, and Charan knows there are very many young musicians who draw that kind of crowd. Now, that is good. And I know such musicians who have made the grade to next grade and the next and have got the final big slot in the Music Academy or elsewhere. Now, this is the good thing that is happening to the music. Let's not be very despondent about it. Yes. It is, the dancers are getting their space. Now, to answer again Anita's point, let's say take the Academy Dance Festival, you have Kuchipudi is featured other than Bharatanatyam. Kuchipudi is featured, Odissi is featured, Kathak is featured. Now, maybe they don't draw as much crowd as the Bharatanatyam dancer draws, but there is still an effort made by the curator to feature these dances, to create an awareness about these other dance forms. And the audience, I believe, is responding.
So this is a question specifically for you. Why aren't we, when we talk about the traditional Tamil way of doing it, was Iyal, Isai, Nadagam, all of it came together, why aren't we seeing more drama in the season?
We are now seeing some drama. I myself have performed a few plays of mine during season. On 3rd January, for instance, I'm presenting in Brahmagana Sabha a play which I had directed, which is called Kamalakshi, which is about a Devadasi dancer of the 19th century. It is happening sporadically. Obviously, the season is concentrated, Iyal, Isai, Nadagam, no doubt, but it is concentrated on dance and drama. Of course, there is more Tamil drama. There is more Tamil drama, naturally because of the kind of audience that comes to see it. But English drama on Indian themes is making its way inexorably into the grid. And I'm happy about that.
So we don't have too much time, but I just one quick question. Yes, I'll come back to you for the point. If there are people...
May I just want...
Sure, of course.
In Kamalakshi, for instance, he is a protagonist. He is a singer. Now, he draws his own crowd for that drama, for that play. So it adds value to the kind of thing that I do. There is a singer, there is a dancer who are professionals. So it brings in that crowd. The person who went to see dance now comes to see drama because Gurucharan is singing or somebody else is dancing. So this cross-pollination of performing arts has helped.
if there were people in this audience, youngsters, middle-aged, whatever, and they want a quick cheat sheet of how to navigate the season, is there an app, or is there a resource which you would advise them to go to? Because it can be, I mean, 4,000 concerts or whatever can be quite bewildering, and then you want good food, lots of canteen options. So, any quick suggestions?
We don't have one single app, I agree. But we have the Margari daily updates that an SNS Arts consultancy has now created. It's downloadable. But of course, then they pick who they feel the music, the dance, from morning to night. They'll do their selection for the day. But at least there is a resource. Okay. I think to take PC's defense of the Music Academy, I talked about the curator. And last season, we had in 3 days, we had dancers doing the same Varnam. 8 Mohamana Varnams had. Yeah. Now, my question is, the curators must ask the dancers, because the Varnam is the central piece, and if they ask for a program to be printed in June or July of the season, and they give another piece that is on the print, and they do something later, there has to be an intervention by the organizers as to why is it. Now, it's not that all the dancers spoke to each other. They didn't, obviously. But the audience, I know, there was an audible, perceptible groan when Mohamana came up again. Yes. Was the third time.
Yeah. Yes, happened.
Yeah. So that's what I mean when they say that you can't just program an artist. Yes. You have to get into what they are performing. It's not interference. It is the right of the presenter, the curator, to know what they are going to present.
Because they'll also have the bigger picture of what else is going to be presented. Yes. Absolutely. So, PC, any cheat sheet from your side for us to navigate the season?
There are books printed about who's singing where. Okay. I mean, you either go by way of musicians or the kind of music that you want to, or the location which you prefer. Okay. I mean, you have to navigate it like that. There is no app as such. But Charan may have say more about it.
You can also add on what you don't want audiences to do in your session, in your performances.
I think there are 2 apps that I can think off the top of my head. One is Epo Music, and the other one is MDND, because they do quite an exhaustive job of picking the concerts by artist, by sabha, by time slots and everything. And this repetition of songs, it happens a lot in music concerts also. But especially after COVID, I'm seeing some Sabha secretaries, they are taking that liberty of warning the musicians, saying that please don't sing these ragas. Because when we keep such ragas for musicians who are singing in the 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock slots, because they can afford to do that repetition. But for us, I think it's a blessing in disguise, because we are encouraged to try out different ragas and move away from the ones that end up being repeated the most during the season. What I would like the audience to do is probably encourage a lot more integration of arts in the coming seasons as much as possible, because now, as you have observed, it's music and dance. But I would love for theatre, Tamil theatre, English, Sanskrit theatre, because you sing so many Sanskrit songs, but how to integrate that with the Sanskrit theatre that you see. And also, as Anita beautifully mentioned, the season has to move beyond the geographical boundaries that we have put over the past few years, because integration of spaces in Carnatic music, and of course dance and theatre, taking music to, I don't think Carnatic concerts are performed that regularly during the month of Margari inside temples, in schools, for that matter. And we encourage all the school students to come for the concert, but to take the music to the schools, in all different schools, private, government, and all different schools. And also, I would love for musicians and dancers to probably work with the top sabhas in allocating one performance for this particular sabha, and one additional performance as something like a CSR initiative or something, to go to the homes of destitute children and elders, because they have no chance, because all those are situated outside the suburbs of Chennai. So making an effort to go there and perform the season, because it gives you an immense value of assessing how you're able to perform when you're put out of the comfort zone of your staple audience. True. You know that this is the kind of audience I'm getting in this auditorium, so you come prepared for that. But In a new venue, your masala won't, click at that place. You will definitely know the results of your music.
And it's good to be outside comfort zone once in a while.
I would love it.
Absolutely. So I'm just gonna throw it open for questions. So any one last pearl of wisdom that you want to impart before we open
I
it
would
out?
like to make a request that dance is so Instagram and social media friendly that I would want audiences to please respect the intellectual copyright of the artist and not hold up their phones and record performances. It's really such a serious violation. We see it all the time happening in dance performances. In the season, they wouldn't dare. The same people who live overseas wouldn't dare do it if they go to a mainstream theater, because they would be shut down, not by the organizers, but the people sitting next to them. They would be told to leave, because that's how seriously, I mean, to put those devices down and watch performances. Dance is so plagiarized and so, violated with copyright during the season, because it's so perfect for social media. So that would be my request.
PC, anything from you before we...
No, I'm done unless you want me to say something else.
All right. So I'm going to open it out for questions. We've got about a half an hour. A couple of requests. Can we please have short questions? Hopefully the questions will be shorter than the answers. No questions which are in paragraphs which I can't remember, and then give back to them. And preferably not have statements. Let's just have more questions, yeah? So I see a lot of hands going up right at the back. And you might want to just name who you want to ask that question to. Yeah, Bala, you've got a question at the back.
Hi, my name is Aruna. This question is not based out of any activism or language bias, but I'm always curious why artists, both the musicians and dancers, do a lot of their introductions and explanations in English. Why does it happen?
Who do you want?
I would like the performers, both of them.
You want to just choose one and make my
Yeah,
job
Anita.
easier?
I think maybe dance more than music.
Yeah,
you
dance.
know?
Yeah, really.
I think dance, and I think this is something that I've discussed with some of the senior dancers. I would say senior in the 40s and 50s, because there's too much verbiage, and the right kind of words and language have to be chosen when you introduce an item. I sometimes feel in the season you can just introduce the varnam, the composer, the ragam, talam, just very briefly, and then just do the performance. And you could have a QR code. The academy doesn't allow you to distribute your own program notes, but you could do it at other places. It takes up a lot of time, and most of the time the language used, you say English, whatever it is. I don't think if you say it in Tamil, it's going to reach a season audience. You really have people coming in from all over the world. I don't think you have only Tamilians. You have, especially dance audiences are really global. And they come in from speaking various languages, including non-Indians. So I think English is the link language. And there are some performers like Nartaki Natraj who do it in Tamil, but they also do it in parallel with English, which takes up a lot of time. And it eats into the 75 minutes that the artists have. And during the season, most performers tend to go to traditional pieces, traditional items. It could be a Tanjavur quartet, Varnam. It could be, they're very standard pieces, familiar pieces, very familiar pieces. That today, for a dance rasika, doesn't need a long, elaborate introduction. So I think English should continue to be the link language. I think to introduce it in Chennai, in Tamil, you might only reach not even 50% of the audience, is what I feel, for dance performances.
So there was a question in the back.
Pardon? Keeps away the segment. You mean just the introductions being
No, can I
in
just
English
take the other
keeps away
question?
the audience? No.
Yeah, hi. My name is Bala. If you're talking about Iyal, Isai, Nadagam being universal, why are we trying to limit it to a season in the Indian context? Why should it be only during the Margari month? Is there something that we are missing, or is it something that is traditional about it?
PC, do you want to take this one?
About why it is confined to the season.
Yeah.
Our musicians are traveling, they come together only for the season. Otherwise, they're traveling in America, Europe, and all kinds of other places. So, they're not available all the time. So there's a concentration of artists They know that this music and dance season is happening in December, January. They will be here. So it's also constrained by their other programs, the necessity to earn the almighty dollar.
I'd love to have some of the younger people also
Yes.
participate, but Charan, you had a point to make. Go ahead.
No, I was just about to add that it does keep happening even outside the seasons. Just that the season becomes a culmination point for all the music that you have heard all over the 11 months. And during December, it's when all musicians come together. The audiences come from other places, and it's a tradition that has been followed for since 1928, as Pradeep said. So to look forward to maximum number of concerts and recitals and ideas and themes within those 20-25 days has been a tradition for all these. It doesn't mean that these things don't happen outside the season.
And that's when the Sabha canteen is also open. Yes.
Hello, esteemed guest, and my name is Vishnu. So before my question, I just give a small update on the cheat sheet question that you guys posed. The Hindu released a AI-powered Margadi chatbot where you can just ask a question, ask where is Mr. Sikil Gurucharan's concerts, and it gives a whole list. I just tried it yesterday, it worked. So just a little update. My question is to all three people, and especially to Anita ma'am, because as she said in the first point about the curation part of it, I think she posted an Instagram post around a year back, and it blew up among my community. It went into a lot of conversation. My question is very simple, and my criticism, as Anita ma'am said, is the same for all Iyal, Isai and Nadagam. I believe curation right now is a lost art, and we need a fresher fragrance into curation. My question is, how can somebody preferably somebody as young as me, who has exposure to Iyal, Isai, Nadagam, in my own way, become a curator? Become a curator. Is it a trained process, or is it just, because unless it's a trained process, an institution cannot accept us. Is it just of taste, or is it training, or what does it require to become a curator?
So there are special courses in museum cultures, in museum culture to train to be a curator. But to be a curator of performing arts, the best curators are performers themselves, who have been performers themselves. Now, the first way is you have to watch a variety, and you have to be willing to watch. If you can't watch by traveling, today the world is in the palm of your hands. And a very good way would be to intern with an arts organization that's organizing festivals across the board. Now in Chennai, we've got 3 or 4 very dynamic event and cultural managers who are doing many different things. To intern with them would then be able to see how they select. And these are also not trained. Everybody's learning flying by the seat of their pants. There is no course, there is no diploma, there is no organized way in which you can go and become a curatorial expert, at least in dance and the performing arts. But to hang around these organizations and the core people is to volunteer some of your time. And it could be your evening time, which is your social time, which all you young people value so fiercely. And to really be in the midst of saying, how do these people operate? How do they select? From which part of India? How is the mix happening? And then to gauge audience reaction and to talk to these curators and to the event spaces. Like they may have an idea. They might put Charan in a space that has more of a social A-list society. And then maybe something Charan chose to sing may not have been as accepted as some popular song that he may have sung. But it's so important for the curators to know who and for whom and when. So you have to learn, and there is no quick fix method. There's no chatbot AI method to become a curator. It takes time, and you have to really be curious. You have to love the arts. Be willing to spend a lot of time and see how it's functioning. Because for somebody as young as you, I don't know if you have 1 hour or 1.5 hours patience to allow an artist to grow on you. You want to be hooked in the first 3 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe even less. Yeah. They say Instagram now has 3 seconds. If you don't hook them in 3 seconds, you lose them. So what does that mean for a curator? How are you going to intervene with the artist to say, I think this piece is a little too long. Can you make it shorter? There are lots of things that the next generation of curators should be able to do. It's a longer conversation. I'll be very happy to have it with you separately. But thank you for asking.
Anybody in the above part who want? Okay. Hi, Vinita. Yeah. Go ahead.
Hi. So I think Anita definitely, and I think all of you touched on a little bit about how structured the timelines are during the season. Does it make it more difficult for experimentation? So does more experimentation happen outside the season than within the season?
Yes.
Does that mean we're losing out at some level by, I think Charan also said we tend to do the more familiar pieces. How does it impact the whole?
Well, I guess the season is a lot about tradition. Experimentation tends to happen outside the season. And if that works, then maybe it gets married into the season late at some point. But experimentation at the moment cannot be an intrinsic part of the season, or is not an intrinsic part of the season. It has to be done elsewhere. There are platforms for it. There are curators for it, Anita herself being one. There are curators for it. And if that kind of inspires the imagination of the public, it can come within come to the season, but generally it is a process that happens outside the season.
I think if you just drive 5 hours and go to Bangalore, the Bangalore Hubba that started this from 1st to 14th, 400 performances across styles, across genres, across, I think, 40 different places in the city. Serendipity in Goa is this, it's amazing work. So you can see cross-genre, cross styles. So I think that when it comes to Chennai, December, Margari, I think there's a certain expectation that you will listen to your performer, watch your favorite dancer, do traditional pieces that make you sort of go, okay, now, my life has been tumultuous. There's so many other things that have happened. Now this is familiar. So there is a kind of a coming home to oneself as well, emotionally and psychologically, that the season provides. And so I think that also, that there are other cities. I don't think Chennai wants to be everything for everybody. There are other cities that have just exploded during the same month of December, doing very different things. And that's a good thing for choice.
And also to add, I would like to say experiments done several times becomes tradition after a point of time. Because when I started with Anil, giving you a case study, we started in 2005. And my first and foremost condition to Anil was that, don't you dare ask me to perform this during music season.
Yeah.
Because I told that we will do everything that outside the season. November till January, you can't disturb me. That's what I told him. And he really took offense to that fact and said, what makes you think this is not tradition? I said, no, music season, it's all about my familiar kritis and I want to satisfy my audience. Today, we are performing at least in 2 or 3 different venues who also have Carnatic concerts of mine. And then they ask, for this concert, can we have Anil Srinivasan? Or Anil curates a festival of his own. And he does a wonderful job of bringing the sabas also within his gambit. And that's what I'm trying. And that's the reason today we are seeing a lot more experiments happening during the season, but it's still about tradition. And what survives as experiments become tradition.
One last question.
Hello, I'm Varsha. This is especially for Charan. There are lots of young people who come for music concerts especially. They don't know anything about what ragam it is or what talam is it. Is it not possible to have a little screen somewhere which says this is this ragam, this is this talam, and therefore people get interested? I enjoy the music, but I don't know what it is. There are people who say that. So can the Sabhas think of implementing something like this, or a music sheet like Anita was saying, the program sheet or something like that?
We are actually trying to reduce the screen time for the audience because they are already looking at a concert through their screens and capturing it. I have tried suggesting this to some of the curators and Sabha organizers. Most of them, they feel that it kind of distracts the audience from what's happening live and real on the stage. So you want to be in the moment as much as possible, and trust me, it's no deterrent. No, not knowing the raga, not knowing the tala or the composer or where the composer has come from, and all these details to enjoy that actual creation. It's not a stipulated condition. I think it's a myth, according to me. You can always reach out to the artists after the concert because most of them are on social media and they love responding. I love responding to queries such as these because I feel they bring back people to the concert rather than giving them all the information before the concert, because I've had audience members come and tell me that, why did you announce the song that you're going to be singing? Why did you announce the raga before you sang the raga? Because I was guessing it along with my friend, because I had just taken away all the fun for them. So you do have a very kind of audience here in Chennai and many places in India. So where it is possible, for example, when we performed in Bombay a few months earlier, there the organizers wanted what you had just suggested. They wanted the name of the song, the composer, and the century in which it was composed, the raga, the tala, everything, in a very non-distractive mode.
Can I add to that? Your question goes a little deeper, and I'm glad you asked. It's a very good question. A lot of people who don't know anything about Carnatic music, they have an ear for music. They don't know what is happening there, but what is the tala, what is the... What, 35, 40 years ago, HMV, which when it still existed as such, brought out a 2-cassette volume on learning to appreciate Carnatic music. It was brought out by Dr. Sundar, Vijay Shiva, T.M. Krishna, and the others contributing. And what is a Pallavi? What is an Anupallavi? What are the talas? What is a Neraval? So it educated that it was so good that it ran out of volume, and they never repeated it afterwards because HMV crashed. It needed 4 or 5 more volumes. If such volumes existed, if Charan could, let's say, sit down and make a volume like that for beginners, for people who know a little bit, learning to appreciate Carnatic music, a person who doesn't know anything about Carnatic music can sit there a little more intelligently listening to what he hears. I would recommend this. I could recommend this particular thing to you. It's not available.
No, I have the little blue book which came up, some time back. I still have that little blue book which has the name of the song.
This has actual demonstration by Vidwans of what a Niraval does, or what a Pallavi does, or what a Kalpana Swaram does. I know it because I voiced it.
I think
and it is not available even with Vijay Shiva or me anymore.
I think the remaining questions we should take over lunch. Thank you very much for a most engaging discussion. I think we traversed a lot on terms of how dance and music have become more a part of the season, and how drama has become a part of the season. People from abroad who are coming and supporting us, of how there's a lot of choice, but also about how we need to move beyond these boundaries. We need to look at other spaces as well, and how today there's a lot of cross-pollination of ideas, and how if we are patient, if we are not looking at our phones for too long, we can learn to expose ourselves to new things and learn new things as well. So these are a few things that I picked up. Thank you very much for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pradeep sir, for closing it for me.
Thank you.
Sir, before you all leave the stage, can I have Dr. Sanjeev Chopra on stage? Festival Director, Valley of Words. So before you give the memento, can you just talk about Valley of Words, and then...
Let's not talk about Valley of Words. Valley of Words is more in action. Right? So what a pleasure.
No, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I ask somebody to...
Key to any festival is curation, and this is what a lovely session they had. And I think all festivals are great, but it's curation, and more than curation, it's the audience which makes all the difference. So you're a great audience, so thank you for being here.
Sir, Gurucharan sir, just to add, in case if you want to move out of your comfort zone, CIC is always ready to take you to schools and colleges and try. So, definitely, sir. And sir, Sanjeev sir, that was a gimmick. So you'll have to talk about Valley of Words so that we can set up the stage. That's the only way to do it. So please.
So now that I know the real reason for being here is to let people set up the stage. Friends, the Valley of Words is an initiative which we've taken in Dehradun, and now it's pan-Indian because of friends like Chandramouli and Tirumurthy. So what we do is that we select the best, we try to select the best books in 8 genres, which is English fiction, Hindi fiction, English non-fiction, Hindi non-fiction, and translations from the Bhashas of Bharat into Hindi or English, as well as writings for young adults, and writings for children, that is 6 to 9 and then 10 to 16. And that's why we have a very wide spectrum of people, a very wide spectrum of authors who come. And we are very glad that the OMR school here did the young adults vertical with us yesterday. And I think the children really enjoyed it, because when they enacted those lovely performances, then the authors, they felt very, very happy. P. Sainath was there yesterday, and so was Shabnam Minwala and many others. And today we have with us the authors from the English fiction and the English non-fiction category. Very happy that for the last 3 years we are collaborating with the Chennai International Center. We have also collaborated with the Auroville Festival. Anu is here. We've done that as well. We also go to Delhi College Indore and to other places. The whole purpose of a literature festival, which to my mind is to get the best books and the best authors and give them the right audience to interact and to connect with, because authors are, as Thiru had said in the morning, fairly private set of people, but when they get an audience, it's really good for them. I mean, I can see the joy on Smriti's face, on Manoj's face, on Kaushik's face, because it's very nice for them to have an audience, and it's very good that the audience can connect with the authors. In a sense, the Value of Words is a not-for-profit organization, much like the CIC, and we depend on, most importantly, we depend on your appreciation of the good work that is done in the areas of literature which are not so well known. And in fact, some of the things that we're trying to do is intercultural dialogues, intergenerational dialogues, because those, I think, are very important conversations. A society which does not talk, a society which does not converse, and a society which is not willing to accept many different points of view in an atmosphere which is non-adversarial. Since morning, we've been listening to opinions which are difficult opinions to hear. But if we can do our opinions in a manner which is non-adversarial, and in a manner which is to ensure that there is greater inquisitiveness, there is greater willingness to learn, that is the way to go ahead. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in Chennai every year, and we hope that we'll continue this tradition. Thank you.